I came home from church and found my daughter in my attic going through boxes. She was on the phone. Yeah, I found the insurance policies. She's got 3 of them. Total payout is $750,000. I stood at the top of the attic stairs listening. She continued, if we do it right, it'll look like an accident. Old lady falls down the stairs. Happens all the time. She was planning my murder. On the phone, in my attic. I stepped into view. She saw me and dropped her phone. Went white. I said, who are you talking to? And then. Before we continue, this fictionalized case study is based on documented cases of family members conspiring to harm elderly relatives for insurance money. According to the National Center on Elder Abuse, financial exploitation through insurance fraud accounts for billions in annual losses, with family members involved in over 60% of cases. This examines your legal right to protect yourself from family conspiracies, how conspiracy charges work even before physical harm occurs, and how to recognize warning signs that family may be plotting against you for financial gain. Now let me tell you my story. It was a Sunday morning in Chicago, and I was getting ready for church like I did every Sunday. I'm Dorothy Jenkins, 77 years old, retired nurse, widow for 12 years. I live alone in the house my husband and I bought 38 years ago. Every Sunday, I attend the 10 a.m. service at Mount Zion Baptist Church. I've been a member for 32 years. After service, I usually go to lunch with my church friends Margaret and Louise. We have a standing reservation at Gladys Soul Food on the south side. But this particular Sunday, things didn't go according to plan. The service ended early, maybe 11:15 instead of the usual 12:30, because the church lost power, some kind of electrical problem. Pastor Williams apologized and said we'd resume next week. I called Margaret. Service ended early. Power's out at the church. Still want to do lunch? Let me check with Louise and call you back. I waited in the parking lot for 10 minutes. Margaret called back. Louise isn't feeling well. Rain, check on lunch? Of course. Hope she feels better. So instead of being gone until 1 p.m. like usual, I was heading home at 11:30. I pulled into my driveway and noticed my daughter Tamara's car parked on the street. That was unusual. She hadn't mentioned coming over. I walked into my house through the front door, which was unlocked. That was also unusual. I always locked it when I left. Then I heard noise from upstairs. From the attic. My attic has a pull-down staircase in the hallway upstairs. It's where I keep old boxes, photos, documents, things from when my husband was alive that I can't bear to throw away but don't need in daily life. The stairs were down. I could see them from the bottom of the main staircase, and I could hear my daughter's voice. I started up the stairs quietly, not wanting to startle her if she was looking for something specific. As I got closer, I could hear her more clearly. She was on the phone. Yeah, I found them. She keeps everything in these old filing boxes. The insurance policies are all here. I stopped on the stairs. Why was Tamara going through my insurance policies? Her voice continued. She's got 3 of them. Northwestern Mutual is $300,000. State Farm is $250,000. And the old John Hancock policy is $200,000. Total payout is $750,000. My heart started beating faster. A male voice responded, faint but audible through what must have been speakerphone. That's more than we thought. That's solid. More than enough to cover everything and then some. Tamara, I'm the beneficiary on all of them. I checked. It's all me. Perfect, so we just need to. But how do we? I mean, she's my mother. I can't just. The male voice, patient, calm. You said she's 77, right? These things happen. Old people fall, they have accidents. Nobody questions it when someone that age has a fall. I gripped the stair railing, my legs suddenly weak. Tamara, her voice shaking slightly. But what if they investigate? What if someone suspects something? Not if we do it right. Look, you said she has steep stairs, right? Old houses, steep stairs, elderly woman, it's a recipe for accidents. If she's carrying something heavy, maybe laundry or groceries, and she trips on loose carpet or misses a step, it's just a tragic accident. Happens all the time. My own daughter, discussing how to kill me. But how would we? Tamara's voice was quieter now, tentative. We talked about this. You make sure the carpet on the stairs is a little loose at the top. She's coming down with a basket of laundry or something heavy that blocks her view. She catches her foot on the loose carpet, loses balance, falls. By the time you find her, it's too late. You call 911, hysterical, saying you came to check on her and found her at the bottom of the stairs. They investigate, sure, but all they find is an elderly woman who fell. No signs of struggle, no suspicious injuries, just a sad accident. And the insurance companies won't question it. Why would they? Accidental death is covered. She's 77. The policies are legitimate. She's had them for years, right? You're the legal beneficiary. There's no fraud. Just a tragic loss of your mother. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Tamara was silent for a moment, then, when should we? Soon, you said Brad lost his job 6 months ago. How far behind are you on the house? 4 months. They're starting foreclosure proceedings. Then soon, next few weeks, you need that money before you lose everything. I forced myself to move, to step into the attic doorway where they could see me. I made my footsteps deliberately heavy. Tamara's head snapped up. She was sitting on the floor of my attic, surrounded by my boxes, my private papers spread around her. Her phone was on the floor in front of her on speaker. Her face went completely white when she saw me. She dropped the insurance policy she was holding. It fluttered to the floor. Mom. I didn't hear you come home. I looked at her, this woman I'd given birth to 48 years ago, raised alone after her father died, loved unconditionally. And she'd been planning how to murder me. Who are you talking to? My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Cold, distant. Nobody. I was looking for old photos for a project I'm working on. Who were you talking to about my insurance policies? Mom, you didn't hear. It's not what you think. I walked over to where her phone lay on the floor and picked it up. The call was still connected. The male voice came through the speaker, urgent now. Tamara, hello, did she hear us? Tamara, are you there? I put the phone to my ear and spoke clearly. This is the old lady you're planning to push down the stairs. Who is this? Silence on the other end, then a click. The call disconnected. I looked at my daughter, who was now standing, backing toward the attic stairs, her eyes wide with panic. You were going to kill me for insurance money? No, Mom, no, it's not like that. I heard you. I heard everything. You were discussing how to make my death look like an accident. You were planning when to do it. Tamara started crying, tears streaming down her face, her hands shaking. We're desperate. Brad lost his job. We're losing the house. We're $180,000 in debt. The credit cards are maxed out. They repossessed our car. We don't know what to do, so you decided to murder me? I wasn't really going to do it. I swear, we were just talking about it, exploring options. I could never actually. You were discussing loose carpet, heavy objects to block my view, how to make it look accidental. That's not just talking, Tamara, that's planning. Please, Mom, you have to understand. Get out of my house. Mom, please, get out. Tamara grabbed her purse and ran, down the attic stairs, down the main stairs, out the front door. I heard her car start, the engine revving. Tires squealing as she drove away. I stood in my attic, surrounded by my boxes, my papers, my insurance policies spread across the floor where my daughter had been calculating how much my death was worth. $750,000. That's what my life was worth to her. I sat down on the attic floor, my legs finally giving out. I don't know how long I sat there. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour. Finally, I stood up, picked up Tamara's phone, which she'd left behind in her panic, went downstairs to my bedroom, locked the door, and called 911. 911, what's your emergency? I need police. My daughter was just in my house planning my murder for insurance money. There was a brief pause. Ma'am, can you repeat that? My daughter Tamara was in my attic going through my insurance policies. I overheard her on the phone with someone planning to kill me and make it look like an accident so she could collect $750,000. Are you safe right now? Where is your daughter? She left. She drove away about 15 minutes ago, but I have her phone. She left it here. It has all the call history. Ma'am, what's your address? I gave it to her. Officers are on the way. Are you injured? Do you need medical attention? No, I'm not injured. I'm locked in my bedroom. I'm safe. Stay on the line with me until officers arrive. I sat on my bed, holding Tamara's phone, my whole body shaking. The dispatcher kept talking to me, asking questions to keep me calm and alert. How old is your daughter? 48. And you said she was planning this with someone on the phone. Do you know who? No, a man. I'd never heard his voice before. Did she threaten you directly? She didn't know I was there. I came home early from church and overheard her planning it. She was discussing methods, how to stage an accident, when to do it. 10 minutes later, I heard sirens. Ma'am, the officers are outside. Can you safely go let them in? Yes. I unlocked my bedroom door and went downstairs. Through my front window, I could see 2 police cars parked in front of my house. I opened the door. A black man in his 50s, detective's badge on his belt, and an Asian woman in uniform stood on my porch. Mrs. Jenkins, I'm Detective Marcus Thompson. This is Officer Sarah Chen. You called about your daughter? Yes, please come in. We sat in my living room. I told them everything, coming home early, hearing Tamara in the attic, the conversation about insurance policies, the discussion about making my death look accidental. Detective Thompson took careful notes. Mrs. Jenkins, what you're describing is conspiracy to commit murder. Even though no physical harm occurred to you, the planning and discussion of how to kill someone is a serious crime. I thought maybe it was just desperate talk. She said they're in financial trouble. Maybe they were just, I don't know, venting? Officer Chen shook her head gently. Ma'am, venting is complaining about money problems. What you described, researching insurance policies, discussing specific methods of causing death, planning how to avoid investigation, that's conspiracy. That's criminal. I handed Detective Thompson Tamara's phone. She left this. The call was to whoever she was planning this with. Thompson put on gloves and took the phone carefully. Officer Chen was already calling for a warrant to search the phone records. Thompson looked at me seriously. Mrs. Jenkins, I need to ask you something difficult. Do you want to press charges against your daughter? I thought about Tamara as a baby, as a little girl holding my hand crossing the street, as a teenager graduating high school, as a young woman getting married. Then I thought about her in my attic, discussing the best way to kill me. Yes, I want to press charges. Over the next few hours, my house became a crime scene, not because anything had happened to me yet, but because a crime had been planned here. Forensic technicians photographed my attic, documented the insurance policies Tamara had pulled out, took the boxes she'd been going through. Detective Thompson got a warrant for Tamara's phone records within 2 hours. He came back to my living room where I was sitting with a victim's advocate they'd sent, a kind woman named Patricia who'd been explaining my rights and what would happen next. Mrs. Jenkins, we've got the phone records. The number your daughter was calling belongs to a man named Marcus Green. Do you know that name? No, I've never heard of him. Thompson pulled out a tablet and showed me a photo. A black man, maybe mid-40s, hard-looking face. Does he look familiar? No, who is he? Marcus Green, age 45. He served 8 years in Stateville Correctional Center for voluntary manslaughter. He was released 2 years ago. My stomach dropped. Manslaughter? He killed someone? Bar fight that turned fatal. He claimed self-defense but was convicted of manslaughter. He served his time and got out in 2022. Why would Tamara be talking to someone who killed someone? We're looking into that. But Mrs. Jenkins, there's more. We traced his connection to your family. Marcus Green was cellmates with your son-in-law Brad Wilson. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. Brad was in prison? Yes, ma'am. Did you not know? Tamara said he had some legal troubles years ago. She never gave me details. She said it was all in the past and they'd moved on. Brad Wilson served 5 years at Stateville for embezzlement. He worked at an insurance company and was caught stealing client funds. Released in 2019 after serving his full sentence. That's where he met Marcus Green. They were cellmates for 4 years. I couldn't speak, couldn't process this. My son-in-law had served time in prison for financial crimes, and I'd never known. And he'd kept in contact with a cellmate who'd killed someone, and now they were planning to kill me. Mrs. Jenkins, I need to tell you what we found in the phone records. Your daughter and Marcus Green have been in contact for 2 weeks. 47 calls between them, ranging from 15 to 30 minutes each, all within the last 14 days. 47 calls? Yes, ma'am. That's not casual conversation. That's extensive planning. Thompson showed me the call log on his tablet, page after page of calls to the same number, multiple calls per day, some lasting half an hour. We're bringing in both your daughter and Brad Wilson for questioning. We have enough probable cause for arrest based on your testimony and these phone records. We're also picking up Marcus Green. What will happen to them? They'll be charged with conspiracy to commit murder, possibly insurance fraud as well. They'll be held pending bail hearing. That evening, Tamara was arrested at her home. Brad was arrested at a friend's house where he'd apparently been staying. They were separated, Thompson told me later, but not legally divorced. Marcus Green was picked up at his apartment on the west side. All three were taken into custody, and I sat in my living room, alone, trying to understand how my life had come to this. The next morning, Detective Thompson called me. "Mrs. Jenkins, I wanted to update you on the interrogations. Can I come by?" "Yes, please." He arrived an hour later with Officer Chen. We sat at my kitchen table, and he pulled out his notes. "I'll start with your daughter." Initially, she denied everything, said you misunderstood what you heard, that she was just looking for old photos in the attic and happened to be on the phone with a friend. "But you have the phone records." "Exactly." When we confronted her with the evidence, 47 calls to Marcus Green, a convicted killer and her husband's former cellmate, she broke down. He read from his notes, Tamara's words from the interrogation. We were desperate. "Brad hasn't worked in 6 months. We're about to lose the house. We owe $180,000. I didn't know what else to do. Someone mentioned that my mother has life insurance and I'm the beneficiary. I just wanted to know how much it was, so I went through her papers when she was at church. Then I called Brad to tell him, and he said to call Marcus, that Marcus would know what to do. I felt sick hearing this." Thompson continued. "She admits to looking through your insurance policies. She admits to calling Marcus Green to discuss options. But she claims they were just talking and she never would have actually gone through with it. What about Brad?" Brad initially tried to play dumb, said he didn't know anything about any plan. But when we mentioned we'd be checking his phone records too, and that conspiracy charges apply to everyone involved in the planning, he changed his tune. Thompson read from another page. Marcus said it would be easy. Old lady, steep stairs, tragic accident. He said he'd done time with guys who'd gotten away with this kind of thing. He said the key was making sure there were no signs of struggle, that it had to look completely natural. That insurance companies don't investigate thoroughly when it's just an elderly person who fell. So Brad was actively involved in planning this? Very actively. We found text messages between Brad and Marcus going back 3 weeks. Discussing your house layout, your daily routine when you're usually home alone. He showed me printouts of text messages. Brad to Marcus. She goes to church every Sunday 10 to 1. House is empty. Marcus to Brad. Stairs in good shape or worn. Brad to Marcus. Old. Carpet is a little loose at the top. Marcus to Brad. Perfect. Easy to stage. I felt violated reading these messages. They'd been surveilling my home, planning when to strike. What about Marcus Green? What did he say? Marcus tried to claim he was just giving hypothetical advice. That Brad and Tamara kept asking him questions and he was just answering them theoretically. He denies being part of any actual plan. But he was. I heard him on the phone with Tamara. He was coaching her on how to do it. I know, and we have evidence that contradicts his story. We got a warrant to search his apartment. We found notes, handwritten notes, outlining the plan. We also found something else. Thompson pulled out his phone and played an audio recording. It was Marcus Green's voice. "Okay, so let me hear how you'd call 911. You need to sound panicked, devastated, but not suspicious. Try it." Then Brad's voice. 911, my mother-in-law fell down the stairs. I just got here and found her. She's not breathing. I think she's dead. Please hurry. Marcus. Good, but more emotion. You need to sound like you're crying, not nervous. Try again. Brad. 911, oh God, please help. My mother-in-law, she fell. I found her at the bottom of the stairs. She's not moving. Please send someone. Marcus. Better. Remember, you came to check on her because you hadn't heard from her all day. You got worried. You found the door unlocked and came in. You saw her at the bottom of the stairs. You tried to wake her up, but she was already gone. That's your story. Stick to it. The recording ended. I sat there in shock. They had practiced. They had actually rehearsed calling 911 after murdering me. Where did you find that recording? On Marcus Green's phone. He recorded it, presumably so Brad could listen to it later and practice more. He treated killing you like it was a performance he was directing. I started crying. I couldn't help it. Officer Chen put her hand on mine. Mrs. Jenkins, I know this is devastating, but you need to know you saved your own life. If you hadn't come home early from church, if you hadn't gone up to the attic, this would have happened. They were actively planning your murder. The case moved forward quickly. The prosecutor assigned to the case was a woman named Angela Martinez. She was in her 40s, Latina, and according to Detective Thompson, she specialized in elder abuse and conspiracy cases. She came to my house 3 days after the arrests. Mrs. Jenkins, I want to explain what we're dealing with here legally. We sat in my living room. You have 3 defendants, your daughter Tamara, your son-in-law Brad, and Marcus Green. All 3 are being charged with conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree and conspiracy to commit insurance fraud. What do those charges mean? Conspiracy to commit murder means they plan to kill you, even if they hadn't done it yet. Under Illinois law, conspiracy is a separate crime from the actual murder. You don't have to complete the murder to be guilty of conspiring to commit it. So even though I'm alive, they can be charged. Exactly. The crime is the agreement to commit murder and taking steps toward that goal. They agreed, they researched your insurance, they discussed methods, they practiced the cover story. Those are all steps toward the goal. That's conspiracy. What kind of sentence does that carry? Conspiracy to commit first-degree murder carries 20 to 60 years in Illinois. Given that you're elderly and they were targeting you for financial gain, I'll be asking for sentences on the higher end. 60 years? It's possible. I want you to understand something, Mrs. Jenkins. What they did is one of the worst forms of elder abuse. They didn't just plan to steal from you. They planned to end your life. And they did it with calculation, practice, and premeditation. The law takes this extremely seriously. Angela opened her briefcase and pulled out documents. We have very strong evidence, your testimony about what you heard. The phone records showing 47 calls between Tamara and Marcus over 2 weeks. Text messages between Brad and Marcus discussing your house and routine. The practice recording of the fake 911 call. Handwritten notes found in Marcus's apartment outlining the plan. She spread the documents across my coffee table. We also searched Brad and Tamara's house with a warrant. We found more evidence there. She showed me printouts of computer search history from their home computer. How much life insurance before investigation gets triggered? Accidental death vs. natural death insurance payout. Do police investigate all elderly falls? How to stage accident scene to look natural? Average time for insurance payout after accidental death. The searches went on and on. Pages of them, all from their home computer over the past month. They researched this extensively, Angela said. This wasn't impulsive. This was carefully planned over weeks, possibly months. She showed me more papers, handwritten notes found in Tamara's nightstand. How much they'd have left after my death, $259,000 in cash after clearing all their debts and paying off their house. That's what my murder was worth to them. There's one more thing, Angela said gently. We found a timeline. A proposed schedule for when to do it. She showed me a piece of paper, also handwritten, found in Brad's car. Week of Nov 10, check on carpet situation at top of stairs. Make sure it's loose enough. Nov 17, Dorothy's birthday dinner, good opportunity to observe her routine that week. Nov 24, after church on Sunday. She'll be tired. Stairs are steep, could work. Deck 1, backup date if Thanksgiving week doesn't work, November 10 was 2 weeks away. They'd been planning to kill me within 2 weeks. If I hadn't come home early from church that Sunday, if I hadn't heard them planning, I might have had 2 weeks to live. I started shaking and couldn't stop. Angela sat next to me. "Mrs. Jenkins, I know this is overwhelming. But I need you to understand something important. They were going to do this. This wasn't just talk. They had a timeline. They had researched methods. They had practiced their story. You stopped this by overhearing them. You saved your own life." The bail hearing was scheduled for 3 days after the arrests. Angela called me the morning of the hearing. "I want to prepare you. The defense attorneys will argue that their clients should be released on bail pending trial. I'm going to argue that they are a danger to you and a flight risk. But ultimately, it's up to the judge. What if they get out? If they do, I'll immediately request protective orders for you, but I don't think the judge will grant bail, not with this evidence." The hearing was at 2 p.m. I didn't attend. Angela said it wasn't necessary and might be too stressful. She promised to call me as soon as it was over. At 4:30 p.m., my phone rang. "Mrs. Jenkins, it's Angela. Bail was denied for all 3 defendants." I felt weak with relief. "Really?" The judge reviewed the evidence. He called it one of the most calculated and cold-blooded conspiracy cases he'd seen. He said anyone who would plan to murder their own mother for insurance money is clearly a danger to that person. Bail denied. They'll remain in custody until trial. How long until trial? Probably 6 to 8 months. We need time to build the full case, interview witnesses, prepare evidence. Are you okay with that timeline? I just want them away from me. They will be. They're in county jail. No contact with you allowed. Over the next few weeks, I tried to return to some kind of normal life, but everything felt different. Tainted. I couldn't go into my attic without seeing Tamara sitting there, surrounded by my insurance policies, planning my death. I couldn't walk down my stairs without thinking about their plan to loosen the carpet, to push me, to make it look like an accident. I couldn't sleep. My friend Margaret from church came to check on me. "Dorothy, you look exhausted. Are you eating?" Sleeping, not really. "Have you thought about talking to someone? A therapist?" I hadn't, but Margaret gave me a name. Dr. Patricia Chen, a therapist who specialized in trauma. I called and made an appointment. Dr. Chen was a Chinese-American woman in her 50s, kind and patient. "Tell me what happened," she said in our first session. I told her everything, the whole story. When I finished, she said, "Dorothy, what you experienced is a profound betrayal. Not just that your daughter was willing to hurt you, but that she was willing to end your life for money. That kind of betrayal from your own child is one of the deepest traumas a person can experience. I keep thinking I should have seen it coming. Were there signs I missed? Let's explore that. Had Tamara been asking about your insurance before this? I thought back. She asked about my will last year, asked if I'd updated it. I told her I had but didn't give her details. Anything else? In July, she asked if I'd made funeral arrangements. She said she was thinking about her own future and wondered if I'd handled mine. I thought it was a mature conversation about planning. What else? Brad asked about life insurance in August, said they were reviewing their own policies and wondered what kind of coverage I had. I told him I had coverage but that it was private. Dr. Chen made notes, so there were inquiries. Questions that seemed reasonable on the surface but were actually them gathering information. I feel so stupid. I should have known something was wrong. Dorothy, you trusted your daughter. That's not stupid. That's normal. Parents trust their children. The fact that she betrayed that trust says something about her, not about you. Over the following months, I saw Dr. Chen weekly. We talked about trust, betrayal, grief, because I was grieving the daughter I thought I had. We talked about safety. I installed a security system, changed all my locks. Got a medical alert pendant I wore around my neck. I also met with an attorney, Robert Morrison, who specialized in elder law. Mrs. Jenkins, even though they are in jail, we need to protect you legally and financially. How? First, remove Tamara as beneficiary on all your life insurance policies immediately. But the policies were evidence in the case. The police have copies. You can change beneficiaries while keeping the policies active. Do it today. I called all 3 insurance companies that afternoon. Northwestern Mutual, removed Tamara, named my church as beneficiary. State Farm removed Tamara, named the NAACP. John Hancock removed Tamara, named my sister Regina's children. The $750,000 that Tamara was going to kill me for, she'd never see a penny of it now. Robert also helped me update my will. Tamara needs to be explicitly excluded with clear language explaining why. My new will stated, I am intentionally excluding my daughter Tamara Jenkins Wilson from any inheritance. This exclusion is due to her conspiracy to murder me for insurance money in October 2024, as documented in Case No. 2020 4CR 8847 in Cook County Circuit Court. This is a deliberate choice, not an oversight. Everything else now went to my sister Regina, my nieces and nephews, and several charities. Tamara would get nothing. Robert looked at the will and nodded. This is clear. If she tries to contest it, this language makes it very difficult. Can she contest it from prison? She can try. But given that she's been convicted of conspiring to kill you for this very inheritance, no judge would rule in her favor. She hasn't been convicted yet. She will be. The evidence is overwhelming. The trial was scheduled for May, 8 months after I'd overheard that conversation in my attic. By then, I was 78. My hair had gone from mostly gray to completely white. I'd lost 15 pounds from stress, but I was alive, and I was ready to testify. Angela Martinez prepared me thoroughly. The defense attorneys will try several strategies, she explained in her office 2 weeks before trial. They'll claim it was just talk, that they never would have actually done it. They'll say you misunderstood what you heard. They'll try to make you seem confused or unreliable because of your age. I know what I heard. I know you do, and the evidence backs you up, but I want you ready for their attacks. We practiced for hours. She played defense attorney, asking me aggressive questions, trying to shake my story. Mrs. Jenkins, isn't it true you were on medication for anxiety at the time you overheard this conversation? No, I've never taken anxiety medication. But you were under stress, weren't you? You'd recently lost a close friend. You were grieving. Could that have affected your perception? I know what I heard. My daughter was discussing my insurance policies and planning my death. There's no misperception about that. Couldn't they have been having a hypothetical discussion? Playing a dark what-if game during a stressful time? They made a practice recording of calling 911 after my death. They had a timeline for when to do it. They researched methods online. That's not hypothetical. That's planning. Angela smiled. Good. Stay calm like that. Don't let them make you defensive. The trial began on a Monday morning in May. The courtroom was packed. The media had been covering the case. Daughter conspires to kill mother for insurance money was the kind of story that drew attention. I sat in the front row behind the prosecution table. Across the aisle, Tamara sat at the defense table with her attorney. Brad sat at another table with his attorney. Marcus Green at a third table with his. They'd been offered a joint trial, and all three had accepted, probably hoping they could point fingers at each other. Tamara looked thin, pale. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore a conservative dress, her attorney's idea, probably, to make her look sympathetic. She looked at me once as I sat down, her eyes filled with tears. I looked away. The judge was a Latina woman named Helen Rodriguez. She had a reputation for being tough but fair. All rise for the Honorable Judge Rodriguez. We stood. The judge entered and took her seat. Please be seated. We're here for the matter of the people of Illinois versus Tamara Jenkins Wilson, Bradford Wilson, and Marcus Green. All three defendants are charged with conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree and conspiracy to commit insurance fraud. The prosecution's opening statement was delivered by Angela. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is a case about greed, betrayal, and calculated murder. The defendants planned to kill Dorothy Jenkins, a 77-year-old retired nurse, a mother, a grandmother, by pushing her down her stairs and making it look like an accident. Why? To collect $750,000 in life insurance. They researched methods. They practiced their cover story. They set a timeline. Only Dorothy's early return from church prevented her murder. The defense attorneys each gave their opening statements. Tamara's attorney, My client engaged in irresponsible talk during a desperate time in her life, but talk is not action. She never harmed her mother. She never would have. She loves her mother. This is a case of thought crime, not conspiracy. Brad's attorney. Brad Wilson was manipulated by Marcus Green, a convicted killer who pushed this plan. Brad was a desperate man who made the mistake of listening to bad advice. Marcus's attorney. Marcus Green gave hypothetical advice to people who kept asking him questions. He never participated in any actual plan. He never intended for anyone to be harmed. Then the evidence began. Detective Thompson testified about the investigation, the phone records, the 47 calls, the text messages. The forensic analyst testified about the computer searches found on Brad and Tamara's computer. Page after page of searches about insurance fraud and staging accidents. The insurance investigator testified. 3 policies totaling $750,000 on a 77-year-old woman with a single beneficiary is unusual but not illegal. However, when that beneficiary begins researching all the policies simultaneously while discussing the insured's death, that raises immediate red flags for fraud. Then Angela played the practice recording. Marcus's voice, "Let me hear how you'd call 911. Brad's voice, 911. My mother-in-law fell down the stairs. The jury looked horrified. Several days into the trial, it was my turn to testify. Angela called me to the stand. Please state your name for the record. Dorothy Me Jenkins. Mrs. Jenkins, what is your relationship to the defendant Tamara Wilson? She's my daughter, my only child. On October 15th of last year, what happened? I told them everything. Coming home early from church, hearing Tamara in the attic, the conversation about insurance policies, the discussion about pushing me downstairs. The jury hung on every word. When I described hearing them plan my death, several jurors looked at Tamara with disgust. How did you feel when you realized what your daughter was planning? Terrified, betrayed. I couldn't believe my own daughter would. I couldn't finish the sentence, started crying. The judge called a brief recess. When we resumed, it was time for cross-examination. Tamara's attorney stood. He was youngish, maybe 40, and he had a gentle manner, probably calculated to make him seem non-threatening. Mrs. Jenkins, I know this has been difficult for you. I just have a few questions. All right. You came home from church early that day, correct? Yes. The power went out, and you weren't expected home until around 1 p.m., correct? That's right. So your daughter thought she had the house to herself? I suppose so. Is it possible she was having a private conversation that you weren't meant to hear? She was planning to kill me. I'm glad I heard it. But Mrs. Jenkins, did your daughter actually harm you in any way? No, because I heard her planning it before she could do it. Did she push you down any stairs? No. Did she physically attack you? No. Did she threaten you to your face? She didn't need to. I heard her planning my murder. But isn't it possible you misunderstood what you heard? That perhaps they were having a dark, hypothetical conversation about financial stress, and you interpreted it as an actual plan? They had a timeline. They'd set dates. That's not hypothetical. The attorney tried a few more angles, but I wouldn't budge. Angela's redirect was brief. Mrs. Jenkins, you heard your daughter discuss your insurance policies, discuss methods of killing you, discuss when to do it. In your mind, was there any doubt about what they were planning? None. They were going to kill me. Thank you. No further questions. After my testimony, other witnesses testified. Neighbors who'd seen Brad and Tamara surveilling my house. The police officers who'd made the arrests. Then it was the defendant's turn. Tamara testified in her own defense. She was crying before she even started talking. I love my mother. I would never hurt her. We were just talking about our financial situation. We were desperate. We'd lost everything. I was looking through her papers to see if there was any way she could help us, and I found the insurance policies. I mentioned them to Marcus, and he started suggesting things, but I would never have done it. I couldn't. She's my mother. Angela's cross-examination was brutal. Miss Wilson, you made 47 phone calls to Marcus Green over 2 weeks. Were all of those calls about how much you love your mother? We were discussing our situation. You researched online how to stage an accident scene. Was that also about love? I was scared. You had a timeline. November 24th. After church. You'd chosen the specific day you were going to kill your mother. Was that love? Tamara broke down completely, couldn't answer through her sobbing. Brad testified, trying to blame Marcus. He told us it would be easy. He said old people die in falls all the time. He said we'd never get caught. I was desperate and I listened to him. I shouldn't have, but I never would have actually done it. Marcus testified, trying to distance himself from the plan. They kept calling me asking questions. I gave them hypothetical answers. I never told them to actually kill anyone. I was just talking. I didn't think they were serious. Then why did you record a practice 911 call? Angela asked on cross. I don't know. It seemed like a theoretical exercise. A theoretical exercise in murder. The closing arguments took half a day. Defense attorneys argued, talk is not crime. Desperate people say desperate things, but they didn't act. No one was harmed. Angela's closing was powerful. Conspiracy doesn't require completion. They planned, they researched, they practiced, they set a timeline. The only reason Dorothy Jenkins is alive today is because she came home early from church and overheard them. If she'd stayed at church like she was supposed to, she'd likely be dead. And these three would have collected $750,000 and called it a tragic accident. Don't let them benefit from their victims' luck. Find them guilty. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they came back, the verdict was clear. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree, how do you find the defendant Tamara Jenkins Wilson? Guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, how do you find the defendant Tamara Jenkins Wilson? Guilty. Same verdicts for Brad and Marcus. Guilty on all counts. Tamara collapsed at the defense table, sobbing. Brad stared at the floor. Marcus showed no emotion. Sentencing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. At the sentencing hearing, I gave a victim impact statement. I stood at the podium in front of Judge Rodriguez and looked at my daughter. Tamara, you are my only child. I raised you alone after your father died when you were 6. I worked double shifts as a nurse to give you everything you needed. I helped you through college. I was there when you got married. I've loved you unconditionally for 48 years. I paused, my voice breaking. And you were willing to kill me for $750,000. You researched how to do it. You practiced calling 911 after my death. You set a date. You valued my life at less than the insurance payout. Tamara was sobbing. I will never feel safe again. I can't walk down my own stairs without thinking about your plan to push me. I can't sleep without nightmares of what would have happened if I hadn't come home early that day. You didn't just plan to take my life. You took my peace, my sense of security, my ability to trust anyone. I turned to the judge. Your Honor, I ask that you sentence all 3 defendants to the maximum allowed by law. They plan to murder me in cold blood for money. They don't deserve mercy. Judge Rodriguez looked at the defendants. Tamara Jenkins Wilson, you conspired to murder your own mother, the woman who raised you, loved you, sacrificed for you, for insurance money. The planning, the calculation, the utter lack of empathy or remorse until you were caught demonstrates a level of depravity that shocks the conscience. She looked at her paperwork. I'm sentencing you to 18 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections on the conspiracy to commit murder charge, to run concurrently with 10 years on the fraud charge. You'll be eligible for parole in 15 years if you demonstrate genuine rehabilitation and remorse. Tamara screamed. No, please, Mom, please tell her. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't respond, didn't look at her. Brad got 20 years. Marcus got 22 years because of his prior conviction. All 3 were led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, and I walked out alone. That was 3 years ago. I'm 80 years old now, still in my house, still living independently, though I've made some changes. I installed a stair lift so I don't have to walk up and down the stairs that figured so prominently in their murder plan. I have a security system, cameras. Medical alert pendant. I see Dr. Chen every other week still. We've worked through a lot of the trauma, but some things never fully heal. Tamara is in Logan Correctional Center in downstate Illinois. She has 12 years left before she's eligible for parole. She's written me hundreds of letters over the 3 years, begging for forgiveness, explaining how desperate she was, promising she never would have actually done it. I've never opened any of them. My attorney, Robert, screens my mail. He keeps the letters in case they are ever needed for legal purposes, but I've told him I don't want to see them. Brad is in a different facility. I heard through family that he and Tamara divorced. She signed the papers rather than fight it. She has nothing left to fight for. Marcus is in maximum security, serving his time alongside violent offenders. My sister Regina visits from Atlanta every few months. Last month, she brought up Tamara. Dorothy, have you thought about visiting her, reading her letters? She's your daughter. She tried to kill me for insurance money, Regina. I know, but it's been 3 years, don't you think? No, I don't. She spent weeks planning my murder. She researched methods. She practiced what she'd say when she found my body. She doesn't deserve my forgiveness. Don't you miss her? I miss the daughter I thought I had, the one I raised, the one I loved. That person either never existed or died somewhere along the way. The woman in prison is someone I don't know. I volunteer at the senior center now, teaching a class on financial safety and elder abuse. Once a month, I tell my story. My daughter conspired to murder me for $750,000 in life insurance. I came home from church early and overheard her planning it with her husband and a convicted killer. They had researched methods, practiced their cover story, and set a timeline. I called the police. All 3 were arrested and convicted. My daughter got 18 years. The rooms are always full. Seniors who are worried about their own families. People who have noticed concerning behavior from their children or grandchildren. After class last week, an elderly woman approached me. My son keeps asking about my life insurance, asking how much it is, who's the beneficiary. Your story scared me. What should I do? Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Change your beneficiary if you need to. Get a security system. Tell someone you trust what's happening. Don't wait until it's too late like I almost did. I also work with prosecutor Angela Martinez on elder safety initiatives. We successfully lobbied for new legislation in Illinois, Dorothy's Law, that requires insurance companies to notify the insured when a beneficiary requests policy information. If that law had existed when Tamara was researching my policies, I would have known. I could have acted earlier. Now, other elderly people will be warned when their beneficiaries start asking questions. It won't stop all conspiracies, but it might save some lives. Last night, I had the dream again. The one where I don't come home early from church, where I go to lunch with Margaret and Louise like planned, where I come home at 1 p.m. and find Tamara waiting, where she loosens the carpet at the top of my stairs, where she asks me to carry something heavy down, where I trip, fall, die, where she calls 911, crying, saying she came to check on me and found me at the bottom of the stairs, where the insurance companies pay out $750,000, where she and Brad clear their debts, pay off their house, have $259,000 in cash, where my murder is ruled an accident. I woke up gasping, my heart pounding, my medical alert pendant clutched in my hand. It took an hour to calm down enough to sleep again. Dr. Chen says the nightmares may never fully go away. That's the price of surviving what I survived. But I am surviving. I'm 80 years old. I'm healthy. I'm active. I volunteer. I have friends. I have purpose. Tamara is in prison, serving 18 years for trying to take all of that away from me, and I have no regrets about putting her there. Some people, mostly people who don't know the full story, think I'm cruel for not forgiving her. For not visiting her in prison, for not reading her letters, but they didn't hear her planning their murder. They didn't listen to the practice recording of the fake 911 call. They didn't see the timeline for when she was going to kill them. They didn't live with the knowledge that their own child valued their life at $750,000. I did, and I'm still here because I came home early from church one Sunday morning, because I heard what I wasn't supposed to hear, because I called the police instead of confronting her, because I testified against her instead of protecting her. I chose my life over her freedom, and I would make that choice again, every single time, because I'm Dorothy Jenkins, I'm 80 years old, and I'm alive.